video was made possible by viewers like you. You know, viewers who hit the subscribe button. Viewers who hit the like button. I'm watching you.
Ninjago, everybody with me. We're never gonna stop. Nobody's gonna slow us down. Here we go. Check it out with me. Take it to the top. Nobody's gonna stop us now. We go round and round. We go round and round. We go round and round and
Chapter 5. Fire. Kai grumbled to himself as he slaved over his forge. He was sweaty, filthy, and tired, but he pressed on, enduring the heat. He had to, for his parents' sake.
Are you almost finished?
Asked Nia, his younger sister, as she brought more fuel for the fire. She was shorter than him, with silky black bangs and a short bob cut. Her light brown eyes were tired and weary, and her red keepy was stained with dirt, flour, and water. "Do I look finished to you?" Kai snapped. His forehead and mouth were scrunched up into a frown, and his breathing was heavy.
Okay, I was just asking.
She couldn't really blame him for being upset. After all, he was under a lot of pressure. A year ago, when Garmadon had taken over their land, he forced their father, a blacksmith, to make weapons for his army. One day, Kai accidentally ruined the last few weapons they were making together, and their father had shouldered the blame. As punishment, Garmadon took away their parents. He said that he would return them if Kai and Nia were able to work off their debt. Kai, being the oldest, was now in charge of the house, the forge, everything. Nia did what she could to help in the forge and in the home, but every passing day seemed to wear on both of them more and more. Kai was relieved when his sword was completed, and he held it up to his face to admire it, while he waited for Nia to return with some polish. He was so close to finishing his latest order, one step closer to seeing his parents again. He put the sword down and wiped some sweat from his forehead and neck, then reached for a bucket of clear, cold water to refresh himself.
Hey, look what I made.
Said Nia quietly as she returned, holding the polish and a small tray of melon pun.
It's a kind of sweet bun.
They were somewhat small and a bit misshapen, but Nia wasn't exactly known for her cooking. "Thanks, sis," Kai said with a half-smile. They both sat down with a bun in their mouths and a sword on Kai's lap. He didn't waste much time, though, and set to polishing his creation while Nia kept him company. The evening air was still warm from the heat of the day, but there was a cool breeze coming in from the south, gently rocking the trees back and forth.
No fireflies tonight. They must be on vacation.
Nia noted. Kai snorted. "Better than being stuck here." Nia took an uneasy breath. She watched him work for a little while longer, but soon she got up to leave. Kai didn't look up. He didn't have the time. The Skulken soldiers would be coming tomorrow, and he needed to finish this and a few other things before then. Then he heard something break inside the house.
Kai! Kai!
Nia shouted, racing in.
They're here!
"What?" Kai asked quietly as he stopped his polishing. His eyes were bulging with fear. "What?" he said again, leaping to his feet.
They came a whole day early. They're coming down the road right now. Is the order ready?
Nia asked, shaking. I was told they'd come in another day. I don't have the last weapons assembled yet," said Kai frantically, running his hands through his hair. His stomach felt like it was twisting itself into giant knots.
What will they do to us?
Kai looked up at his sister and thought for a moment. Then he clenched his teeth angrily and said, "Nia, get inside, now. Wait for them to leave. I'll take the blame for this."
No, Kai, you can't. They'll take you away too.
Nia's eyes were brimming with tears. "Maybe they will. But I won't let them take you." Kai grabbed his sister and held her close. "If they do take me, I want you to escape to Aunt Yuki's house. You'll be safe there."
Kai!
"I can hear them coming now. Get inside the house, now!" Nia reluctantly ducked through the back door, but continued to watch her brother through a crack in the wooden beams. Kai stood up straight and walked out into the street to meet the soldiers. He clenched his fists. This was the moment of truth. A dozen disgusting skeleton soldiers came up to him, led by a Skulken captain.
"Peasant,
Do you have Lord Garmadon's order?
Asked the captain. His ugly face was contorted with scars of all kinds, not to mention a dozen or so metal piercings. Kai threw a bundle of sharp objects to the ground. "Take it and leave," he said firmly. The captain signaled for one of the soldiers to pick it up and inspect it.
3 swords, a mace,
Said the skeleton as he looked through the bundle.
4 clubs, and 8 spears. 8!
The captain bellowed. He reached forward and grabbed Kai by the collar.
Lord Garmadon ordered 15 spears! What kind of insult is this? Well, mortal, what do you have to say for yourself?
I ran out of time, Kai choked.
Impudence!
The captain threw him to the ground hard.
You will pay for your disrespect to your emperor.
Do your worst, Skullface, Kai said, rising to his feet.
Men!
Then a crooked grin spread across his horrifying face.
The boy has a sister. Search the house. Find the girl.
No! Kai shouted desperately. He grabbed one of the swords from his bundle and swung it wildly at the advancing skeletons.
Don't you even touch a hair on her head! Fool!
Cried the captain. He swung a club at Kai, which hit him dead in the stomach. He fell to the ground, clutching himself.
This runt is a disgrace to the Empire. He doesn't deserve to make weapons for our mighty Emperor. Take it all!
The soldiers began to ransack the house. They took food, firewood, anything that wasn't tied down. Nia blocked the doors as best she could and made a break for it out one of the windows. She ran with all the strength her legs could give and nearly made it to the forest, but she was cut off by the skeletons. She was quickly overpowered, gagged, and taken with them like a prize.
Nia!
Kai called weakly, tears streaming down his face. With all his remaining energy, he rose to his feet and tried to get close to his sister as the soldiers carried her away, but the captain struck him down again.
Now look what you've done, you idiot child.
The general cackled. He bent down and grabbed Kai's face.
You just keep trying to pay off your family's debt, and maybe you'll see your pathetic sister again.
He laughed, letting go of Kai, and stood up straight.
Come on, men, back to the citadel.
Kai looked up, and his eyes locked with Nia's as she was carried away.
Nia, no matter where you are, I will find you! I will find you!
He clutched his stomach again as the pain swelled for a second time. Silence fell over the blacksmith forge, and Kai was left sobbing in the dirty street. He didn't know what to do, what to think, what to say. He felt a pit of guilt and shame rise up in his stomach, which seemed to drain all of his strength. Soon night fell, creating dark shadows throughout the little house. Kai usually would have been asleep at this time, but tonight he was packing. He would find his sister, even if it meant killing himself to do it. In his traveling pack were his weapons, a compass, clothes, and a map. Now he just needed food. He planned on going to the market and using what little money he had to his name. His family was all he had left to live for, and he wasn't about to lose them. A floorboard creaked in the next room over, and Kai froze. Then he grabbed his sword and ducked behind a wall. Was it more soldiers? He peeked around the corner and looked into open darkness. Nothing. Then he thought he saw a shape moving in the dim light of a window. Without a second thought, he lunged forward and attacked with all of his strength, swinging with intent to kill. Metal hit metal. Whoever the intruder was, they were armed with a sword as well. He swung again. Every time their swords collided, sparks flew, illuminating the room for a moment, each time becoming brighter and brighter. "Who are you?" Kai shouted at them.
Enough, Kai,
Came the voice of an old man. In a blurry moment, Kai suddenly found himself disarmed, on his knees, his arms pulled out straight behind him, and someone's knee pressed into his back.
How do you know my name?
Kai demanded to know as he shook with fear and adrenaline, but he got no reply. The next thing he knew, a wet cloth was being pushed into his face. He struggled and tried to scream, but within a few seconds, he was unconscious.